Hello everyone, this will be a step 2 of the part 1 view filters and visibility graphic overrides for view filters. So in the previous session, you can see on my screen, we've created a couple of view filters. And in this session, I want to apply those view filters and then set visibility graphic overrides for them. So we have our view filters created over here. So let's just say you wanted to apply those view filters to a view. You will go to a view drop down over here, and then you can use that very first node over there up there. It's called add filter. And it has two inputs. The first input is a view filter. We already have these two created. And the second input is a view itself. So in our case, we want to apply it to two views. Both of these views have fire rating in their name. So there's a couple of different ways we can go about selecting those views to use them with our view filter. The easiest way, and if you only got one or two views, I would probably recommend doing that. If you search for a node called views, this dropdown will be populated with all of the views in the project, and you can literally just select one, and then I got categories in my selection, and then you can just copy paste this, select the second one. So these are your views. So if you're applying those view filters to a single view or two views, this probably makes sense because you can just list create and combine them together into a list, and then you can use that list as an input into your view filters. However, I want to make this example as flexible as possible, and I'm making an assumption that you will have more than two views. And it actually makes more sense to set up a rule for how you want to select these views. So instead of using this particular combination of nodes, I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to use a custom node that I've set up called view get by type. And then we're going to set up a filter. So the input into this is a view type. So if you scroll down a little bit, there is a dropdown called view type. So I know that my views are floor plans. So I'm gonna just search for a floor plan and plug it into view. If I just use a watch node really quickly to visualize what we have so far, you can see there's all of the floor plans in the project, and the last two are the fire rating floor plans that we're interested in, right? So we can set up a filter to get these views consistently. So if you're working on a project when there's like 60 floor plans that you check in the fire rating for, this will be the way to go. What's our rule? Well, I want to collect any view that has fire rating in its name. So let's just search for element.name node. And then this returns a string. You can see that over here. This returns a string with the name of the view. So we can use string.contains to basically weed out the ones that don't. So we're going to plug that string into there, and then we're searching for a substring, and then in this case our substring is fire rating. And then the third input is a boolean value, but that has a default on it, so you can see that the state of the node changed and it's actually working. So what does it return? It returns a list of true and false values, and you can see that the first three values are false because those are the first three floor plans, and then the last two are the ones that we're actually looking for that contain fire rating in their name, and then those are set to true. So we can use that pattern with a node called list.filter, and then if you click over here, well, actually, I'm sorry, it's list.filter by boolean mask. It's that second one on the list. So this will be our mask. This is the pattern of true and false. And if we take all of our views and feed that in, it will basically split those views into two lists. And you can see those here. And the first one, which is the output from the in output, is the two views that we're interested in. So we can take that. I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit. Clean up my space a little bit here. Okay, there we go. Let's just move this up here. See everything a little bit clearer. Okay, so the two views that we're interested in are in the in, and we can plug that into our view. And then we have a view filter. So if I wanted to apply both of these view filters to both of the views that were collected over here, or to all of the views that were collected over there, I will have to combine them into another list. And then we can use that list with our view filters. So what should happen right now is both of these views should have both of these filters added to them. So let's just really quickly have a look. And you can see that these two filters were added to that view, and then they were also added to this view. So now the last step would be to set some visibility graphics, because we want to highlight these walls probably with two different settings. For that, we would use a set filter visibility node. And, well, actually, I'm sorry. We'll talk about this a little later. It's set filter overrides. So for that, there's a couple of inputs. First, we need our view. So we would actually take both of these views, just like before, and then we would take a view filter, and we're gonna set up different visibility settings for each one of the filters. So it's not the list over here, but instead it's the output from the create filter node. So we're gonna set up the first one, which is the 1 hour rate wall. So that will be our view filter. And then the last input here is graphics settings. And that's the override graphics settings node that you can find over here. And there's a couple of things that we can do over here. First of all, if you take these nodes, and you notice probably that right away it has that darkish gray color to it, that means that all of these inputs have default values to them. What that does is, if I took a view filter and plug this graphic settings into it, this basically resets all of the settings. So it sets them to default for all the override graphics. It basically removes all the graphic overrides for this filter. The minute we start plugging some things into it, that's when the visibility graphic overrides kick in, and this node starts acting as an overrider rather than just resetter. So really quickly, a couple of inputs here, and these are very similar to what you will see with the UI. What I want to do is just a simple override of the color of the fill pattern. So first we need to create a color, and again, I'm going to use a shortcut by double clicking on canvas and creating a code block, and I'm going to say for the 1 hour rate I want to make them orange. So I'm just going to type in orange. I'll declare a variable, say orange equals, and I'm going to type in color dot by ARGB, and I'm going to open parentheses. I'm going to say 0 for A, and then 255 for red, and then let's just say 165 for green, 0 for blue, and I'm going to close my parentheses and end the line with a semicolon. So this should create a color. You can see that over here. So I'm going to plug that color into my fill color, and then overriding the fill color is not enough. If you want to display a fill color override, you also have to give it a pattern, because otherwise it just displays by, it's just set to none. So what's a fill pattern? You can find those right here on top. So these are all the fill patterns available for you in the project. So I like to use a solid fill. And I'm overriding a cut fill pattern. So these two inputs all by themselves are enough to override this filter settings, and I think we should see that already. Yes. So you can see that both of our plans already have a filter color override associated with them. And if we just go to filters over here, you can see that the pattern color has been overridden. It has a color and has a fill, it's a solid fill pattern. So we can keep going and add a red color override for the other one. So again, we're just gonna set filter overrides, and then we're gonna need the new graphics overrides node. So for this one, I want to create a different color. I'm gonna call this red. And again, I'm going to do color dot by ARGB. And I'm just going to use 255 for red, and then 0 for green and blue. So this will be my color for the fill color, and I can use the same pattern for my fill pattern. And again, I can plug that into graphics override, and then this will be my override for the second filter. And the views are going to